Hello everyone, Sheek here with another Transformers review, and today I will be reviewing the Fans Toys 4-0 Alpha Hannibal. And as you can see, this is supposed to be their take on Cerebros or Fortress, depending on which continuity, but it is modeled more after Fortress from the G1 Headmasters cartoon, which is actually one of my favorite shows. On the side of the box, just his name, back, obligatory product shots, and on the back we also have a bio, an actual bio, because they don't usually, anyway, but yeah, it's a nice long bio. 3 paragraphs. The Hereticons won't sneak past Fortress City's defense and a stolen spaceship under his watch. Haha! A jab at the G1 movie where the Decepticons stole, yeah, anyway, but yeah, definitely a jab, definitely a long bio. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this guy out of his packaging. And here we have Fortress out of his packaging, or Hannibal. And as you can see, I have got him set up with some of the optional things. There's the stand for the head mode, as well as the console, well, part of the console that he pulled the Master Sword out of. And I also have the alternate face on. And as you can see, he does not have an auto button, so let's go ahead and rectify that. And there we go. There it is on his chest. So now he is a full-blown Autobot, which he already was. Anyway, yeah, as you can see, he is pulling the Master Sword out of the console, and he has his intense yelling face on. Yeah, so that's about it. That's probably the most people probably will be able to do with this guy before they, if they ever release the rest of the figures to make the body or of Fortress Maximus. So this is actually really cool. I don't know why they decided to make it all translucent orange rather than just orange plastic. I think that would have been more accurate, but whatever. They didn't even have to include that, but that's really cool. Because like I said, this is more for the Headmasters cartoon. I don't know how much of this was like in the, well, the short-lived 4-episode season 4 of the Transformers, but yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at them in more detail. Alright, so just to swap out his hand, it's on a ball joint, you just pop it off, put the articulated one back on. This one, if you ever get this guy, it's pretty much included taped to the outside of the box of the figure instead of inside. I'm not sure why, maybe it was an afterthought, but yeah, this is the hand specifically for holding the sword, for pulling it out, because you cannot get that range of motion for the Master Sword otherwise, and then you can have him hold it like a regular sword, but he never really wielded it, except for when he was flying out of the ship, or Fortress, out of the, well, you know, the body for Fortress Maximus. He only really carried it when he was about to transform into his head mode for, to combine with, to make Fortress Maximus. I guess to combine with his Transtector, his, like, biggest one. I don't remember his Headmaster ever coming off in the, Headmasters cartoon. Might have, obviously did in the American version, because, I mean, Spike formed, Spike Wiki formed his head, so I mean, obviously. Anyway, but enough about that. To get his sword into storage mode, just split apart the blade, which is also a very nice metallic red, very shiny. Not chrome exactly, but definitely metallic and glossy, like it. And then collapse the handle, and then it looks almost like a shield, but it's not meant to be a shield. I think that's just meant for storage. Which there's also a slot for, it looks like, in here underneath the stand, so you can plug that in right there. He does come with a gun done in like a pearl color, like a pearly white that's a little bit metallic looking or glistens, so that's why I say it looks like a pearl color. And then of course it just can tab right into his either hand, I do believe. Yeah, either hand. Although, yeah, although it doesn't seem to want to necessarily tab in on, there we are, got it. But then you just curl his fingers around the handle of the gun, and there he has his gun, and he can go pew pew, bang bang, although in the Headmaster cart, or not the Headmaster, but in the Season 4 of Transformers, he's kind of a pacifist, if I remember right, so him using his gun wouldn't make much sense. And then the Headmasters cartoon, he did, I think, maybe fight on a couple of occasions, but he really only fought as Fortress Maximus. He was more of their leader slash pretty much he worked behind the scenes, making like planning stuff rather than, you know, having everyone else fight instead for the most part. Okay, articulation. His head is, well, also, as you can see, also the problem with all of them. I am probably going to remove that spring, or at least try to weaken it. That pops it out, but his head is pretty much on the same joint as the Headmaster, but pretty much it's a swivel. Can't really look up or down, because if you do, his head's just going to pop off. And you can't get a full 360, but it doesn't really matter. You get just about that much range of motion, which isn't horrible. And also on his chest, if you not open up his whole chest, but if you open up this panel, you can see his stats, which are pretty much maxed out because he's very powerful. And then there we are. No, get back in there. Get back in. There we are. Speed, strength, and intelligence. And then of course you can close that back up. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Headmaster. His face of Cerebro or Fortress is really well done. You can flip it out, swap it out for the one that he came with just by pulling it off. And as you can see, that's just behind him. And then we can put his standard face back on. That's the one he came with on. But I just wanted to do an action pose a little bit for the start. Yeah, just like that. Tab it in and flip it down. So hopefully this doesn't ever come super loose. And as you can see, this turns into a little robot. So pretty much with like all Headmasters, you just pretty much pull down the legs, then pull down his feet, which is actually something extra that most Headmaster toys don't have, as they're so small to begin with. He is a bit larger than your standard Headmaster because, well, he's what's it called? Masterpiece scale rather than deluxe or Voyager. And pretty much got him in his robot mode. And as you can see, he is shredded right there. He has perfect six-pack abs, which is pretty funny. His face is very well detailed. Got blue for his eyes, nose and mouth, and a little chin. Looks pretty cool. Looks like he even has what, which doesn't really make much sense, but it does look like the chest panel could potentially flip open if it. That just might be a scene from construction. But yeah, he is fairly detailed and articulated for such a small figure. The head is on a ball joint, but so he can look up and down a little bit. He does have a little bit of wibbly wobbly. His head could do a full 360, but I feel like I'd have to use tweezers or something like that because it's so small and it's such a stiff ball joint. That's meant to kind of be the neck for the main head. So yeah, that's not going to do that. His arms are a ball joint. You can go out about that far. Come on, focus on the Headmaster. And they can do pretty much a full 360, but doesn't quite get the full range of motion because of the backpack, which is perfectly fine. And look, if you look closely, these details on the side of the head would have actually, if I remember right, are supposed to be might have been the feet on the original Headmaster in G1. I'm not really sure, but it's definitely stylized kind of like Fortress's, or not Fortress, Fortress Maximus's head a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, has no waist swivel, no ab crunch, but that's not surprising given his size. Cannot do the splits. They can go out that far. Legs can go forward that far. Back, not really far at all because of the backpack. And about 90-degree bend at the knees. He does get a little bit of ankle tiltage. And his feet can move down and like that because of transformation. And that's about it for Spike or I don't know. Since like I said, he never really separated in the show, so I really don't know if he even really had a name. Although it was evident based on the cartoon model that looked like he did have a Headmaster, just he never, well, came out of that mode, if I remember right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get him back into his head mode. Head on! And yeah, there we are. Have his head back on, which I can probably guarantee you is probably not going to stay on very well. So let's go ahead and show off his articulation. Arms can go out that far. A nice little ratchet. On a sturdier ratchet can do a full 360. Does have bicep rotation. Can do over 90-degree bend at the elbow. Does have wrist swivel and wrist bend. And definitely got completely articulated fingers. Although it is more on a hinge, so the fingers do not have any splay. So that's not too big of a deal. I'd be more concerned, honestly, because that means it'd be more likely to pop off. Because of, you know, ball joints small, more than likely to pop off. So I prefer it like this, honestly. At least for the smaller ones. Bigger ones, not as big of a problem in my opinion. And then he does have a little bit of an ab crunch. He has waist swivel, but it's not the greatest of waist swivel because that gets in the way. Legs, if you pull this out, can go out about that far. Yeah, about that far. Legs can go forward that far. Back about that far. Knees, about 90-degree bend there. Thigh rotation. And just a little bit, ever so slight ankle tiltage on the toe of the foot. And that's about it for articulation. So let's go ahead and get him transformed into his head mode. Okay, getting him into his head mode is pretty fun and relatively straightforward, but there is a couple of tricky points, and you also want to make sure that you don't forget any of the steps. Anyway, although one thing that is kind of sad is that his hand is a bit wobbly, very loose. Just after popping off once to put this one on, it's not staying on very well. Well, I mean, it's staying on, but it's very loose. I don't know if I'll change it out very often anymore. There might be a way for me to tighten that up somehow. Maybe put just a little dab of super glue on the end of the ball joint and let it dry completely, then put that on. Maybe that will tighten it up a little bit. We'll see. But I'm not going to do that right now. Anyway, so first things first, pop off the head if it hasn't already. Go ahead and curl up his hands. Just rotate his fingers in, curling them up. Very nice and neat. Open up his forearm, flip in, close up, and same on the other side. And then let's go ahead and move down to the legs, which is actually the first thing in the instructions. And also, one thing I didn't realize is that he does have heel spurs, although it seems kind of pointless considering he has all this on the back of his leg, but he does have heel spurs, which you then go ahead and flip in. And then you want to untab the metal tabs if they haven't come undone, because these don't seem to want to stay in place, at least on this leg anyway. So you untab that, close that tab up, pop open the leg, pop open the leg, there we are, pop that open, pull that up, pull up, rotate down, rotate 180, and then, come on, yeah. And then, there we are, get this all, there we are, lined up, and then want to flip this out right here, click into place, and then rotate the toe in, flip this panel in. You don't want to forget about that panel, as you could potentially damage it if you do forget about it. Then collapse the leg and tab into place. And come on, what's going on here? There we are. Okay, I think I saw where I messed up. Wait, let's get that. Let's open back up. There we are. Okay, there we go. Get that closed up. And second side, just like the first. And then I'm going to go ahead and extend his waist up, rotate up, push in, flip down. Although this one side is extremely stiff, like really stiff. and I think I'm only going to be able to break it in. And also there's a little bit of grease or oil on here to help preserve, I guess, keep the metal parts lubricated. Come on. But it's making it hard to get a good grip. There we are on this. Okay, so you get that bent down, and then you rotate down until it's flush like that. And same on the other side. And then we can get up to the upper body. Let's go ahead and pull the whole thing down. Extend out. And then go on to flip this down. And as you do it, you're going to also pull this up. You kind of want to have it up just a little bit, and then come on, there we are. Get it tabbed into place. And I had trouble getting this undone, turning him back into robot mode for whatever reason. That's once it gets tabbed in place, it wants to stay there, which is a good thing, but it's also kind of frustrating too. Then you just rotate his, oops, getting ahead of myself again. Rotate 180, and then you can rotate and bring the legs about, rotate, bring about, and then arms. Okay, next thing to do, push this in all the way, then put this up right in here, bring the arms back, and you want to make sure that these two tabs line up, and then it's not, just make sure, of course it's not going to cooperate on camera. There we are, like so. And then press his arms down, and these two tabs tab right into his forearms. And now it's, of course, on camera. There we are. Tab into place, and tab into place, and then pull down, and just line everything up. Tab right in there, and tab right in there, or plug right in there, and tab right in there, and here we have him in his head mode. Fortress in his head mode, and it does look very impressive. He does have a button right here for lights in his eyes, which I unfortunately do not have the batteries for, but it does look really cool from what I've seen on other reviews, and apparently the eyes follow you, so that's kind of creepy and kind of cool. And then I guess you can just set the head right here on the base. I guess have him in his contemplative thinking pose, whatever you want to call it. And then you can plug this in right here. Forgot this is the configuration for the sword when he would plug into his body in the show. Obviously, can't just, I don't believe the stand can hold him, support, I don't believe this can support him with the sword sticking out underneath. So I think you just have to pretty much have him sitting on the base like that. So there's not a whole lot you can really do with this configuration, and I think it is designed for you to be able to have him on while, yep, see, it's designed for to have his headmaster on, but I mean, I guess if you're going to have him on display in head mode, realistically I feel like I'd have him on display in his robot mode, because that looks a lot cooler in my opinion. Now, there are a couple other things, options that you can do for this guy. You can change out these and his face, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm only going to do one side rather than the whole thing, but pretty much for the face, you're going to want to disconnect his body, and then you just pull off his face, and there we see place for batteries, and then the button, and then we pull out his yelling face, which is also pearly colored. It does look really nice, although it's not black in the back of his mouth, but it still is a little bit darker with the shadows, so it still looks really cool. I do love the paint on the eyes, and the black outline around them looks very Gundam-esque, and also very, very accurate to the show. And then, to swap out these things, just want to get the leg undone pretty much. Come on, flip that out. Go ahead and just extend that so it's more out of the way. And then this, you just want to pop it off, preferably without any damage, but it is just a little hinge that, as you can see, is just supposed to pop off. Of course, it's on there really good. There we are. Just pop that off, and that's only why I'm only doing one side rather than both, because I honestly like the more cartoon accurate than the toy accurate. From the looks of it, it doesn't really matter which side it goes on too terribly much, because they do look very similar. And I suppose you could do two different styles, because there's this style on this side and then this style on the other. So you can just pop this back on. But since you pretty much get the gist of it, I'm not going to bother popping the new one on. I'm just going to pop the old one back on. Make sure that I pop it on the right place. Let's see. Okay. So this closes up. We want it, and we don't want that to fall off. Okay, so just pop it back on like so. There we are, got that back on. These are the easiest, other than the face, easiest to replace. Now I say that's easiest, now it's going to fight me. Okay, but you're supposed to just pull off on this. Okay, I guess I'll just do the other side, because I think the other side was the one that I actually did a practice run on. There we are. Okay, so just pop off, as you can see, and then plug. I'm not sure exactly which side is which, but then just, okay, yeah, this side. Go ahead and just plug that in, and then you have alternate vents. Like, pop off. There we are. Get this one back on. Here we are. And even though they're optional, which is good, it's good to have options, but I don't think I'm really going to go with the optional stuff on this guy, in all honesty. And let's go ahead and get everything all nice and put back together. And one last thing before we get down to the conclusion, let's go ahead and take a better look at this base. There is places for storage. I'm not sure if you can store every single thing in here, but like I said, you can store the sword right there, and then it looks like blaster right in here, like so, which is really cool and convenient. But it doesn't appear like there's any other slots for storing, say, like the optional pieces, but that's about it for that. And yeah, this is a really cool figure. Even on his own, he's really cool, and that'd still be cool to have on display on a shelf, even if it is just a disembodied head. And yeah. And one last thing, character card, Fans Toys 40 Alpha Hannibal. And then there's the same bio that was on there, and then there's his stats, which are in Japanese, it would seem. So this has been a review of Fans Toys Hannibal. And if you like this review and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. Until next time, have a good one, everyone.